So the other interesting storyline, and most of the time it hasn't been for the right reasons, right? Most of the time when we've talked about the New Orleans Pelicans, it's been about underachieving. And unfortunately, that still is the storyline with this team. This team has underachieved all year, but they beat the Warriors last night, 108 to 103, and they're keeping their playoff hopes alive right now. They're just 2 games back of the San Antonio Spurs for the 10th and final playoff spot. Now, don't want to digress too much, but let me just give a shout out to Lonzo Ball, whose jersey is behind me right here. I always thought that he was on such a tumultuous ride when he was with the Lakers that I thought LeVar Ball just made it so impossible for him to thrive and for him to flourish in LA that it just exacerbated all the pressure of already inherently the inherent pressure of being a number 2 overall pick. So I thought that really derailed his abilities to play freely the way that we're seeing right now in New Orleans. Because the way that he's been playing right now, this is the type of Lonzo Ball that people were expecting to see, that I was expecting to see on a more consistent basis. Not 33 points every single night, but the confidence, the swagger. One of the reasons why I loved his game was the flow, the pace, the rhythm that he plays with. And to be honest, it's one of the reasons why I never fully bought into Brandon Ingram being the face of this franchise. I understand why they signed him to that supermax. He deserved it based on his stats and the fact that he earned an all-star nod. But his style of play, it's very stagnant. The ball doesn't move. He's more of an ISO scorer. And I think he can be a complementary piece. I don't see him as being a face of a franchise. That's Zion Williamson. But the difference is the chemistry between Zion and Lonzo and the entire team, it's palpable. And I know Brandon Ingram kind of twisted his ankle midway through the second quarter, so hopefully he can come back for them. But I think the more important pieces were Zion Williamson and Lonzo Ball being fully healthy. And you look at what he's been doing in his last 3 games. 2 of those previous 3 games, he's dropped career highs, 33 points. He just tied it again last night. Career high 7 3-pointers in a game. Rather 8 a couple nights ago. Now he followed that up with 7 this time. He's been playing with so much more confidence. And again, hit that clutch jumper, the step back when it was all tied up in the fourth quarter. So he actually sealed the win for the Pelicans last night. And when you look at the Pelicans on paper, this is an extremely deep and talented team. You've got Zion Williamson, who was an all-star this year. Brandon Ingram was a former all-star last year. Lonzo Ball's ascending. Eric Bledsoe, Steven Adams. You've got the physicality. You've got the energy and the rebounding with Josh Hart and Jackson Hayes off the bench. This is a team that has tremendous raw talent. They almost remind me of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 2 years ago with Jameis Winston, where you look at Jameis Winston and you're saying, this team is absolutely loaded. This team is stacked. Here you have a guy in Jameis Winston who's throwing for 5,000 yards, but he's also thrown 30 interceptions. So it's about channeling and harnessing that consistency that we haven't always been able to see. That's what's been missing. And the same thing with the Pelicans. We always blamed it on the youth and the inexperience. And while that certainly can be a valid argument, the reality is this team on paper should be much better. When you really look at some of the teams that are better than them, do the San Antonio Spurs really have a better roster than the Pelicans? Maybe they have better coaching, which is certainly important. They don't have a better roster. Do the Memphis Grizzlies have a better roster than the New Orleans Pelicans? I don't think so. I guarantee if I were to poll most NBA fans outside of the city of Memphis, they wouldn't be able to name me more than 3 players on the team. They'd say Ja Morant, they'd probably say Jonas Valanciunas, and they'd probably say Dylan Brooks. That's about the extent that they can go. So when I look at the Pelicans, This is a team that, again, they blew a 17-point lead to the Portland Trailblazers when they were up by 17 with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That was against Damian Lillard without C.J. McCollum. That's the team that we're dealing with here. And so when I look at Zion Williamson in particular, this guy's been absolutely fantastic. 27 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, efficient, super, super efficient. This guy scores on an average from around 4 feet away from the basket. He's been absolutely fantastic and on a tear. And if I am the Phoenix Suns or the Utah Jazz, I'm telling you right now, if the Pelicans can somehow, and again, I don't believe this will happen, if they can somehow creep into the play-in tournament and then somehow escape that and actually make it into the postseason, they wouldn't want to see him in the first round. Zion Williamson is not someone you'd want to see in the first round. The jubilance and the joy and the passion that he plays with, that's contagious. Absolutely permeates an entire locker room. And it can uplift the morale in a locker room. And we saw that the NBA has been trying to force feed us Zion Williamson. They tried to force feed us Zion Williamson into the postseason last year, and he came up a little bit short. So this is a really deep team that, again, it has underachieved, but it's won 5 of its last 8 games. It's starting to make a push. And if they can somehow, again, I'm not sure if I can see it happening, if they somehow creep into the postseason, whether it's the play-in tournament, whether it's actually the final group of 8, they're going to be a tougher out. They've got young legs. They can run up and down the court for days. They've got tremendous energy. You know that they'll play with heart. So I've always liked the complexion and the makeup of this team, but then I always look at the end result in the standings, and it just always leaves a lot to be desired. But hopefully now, and again, Lonzo is the X factor. If he doesn't have to drop 33 points, but if he plays this confidently, moving forward more consistently, this Pelicans team can make a run. They can make a run, and it would be certainly fascinating